Welcome to fourth session of the series that we started about interviews, tips and tricks for interviews. In the first three sessions, we covered job search, application, and recruiter call. And today we are just sequentially moving, actually, starting from a job search perspective and then coming into how to apply to these companies that we are targeting for. And then we applied and recruiters are calling us, scheduling calls and then calling us. And now we are okay. The team, the recruiter wants to move forward with us and they schedule some technical phone screens or they are delivering take-home assignments for us to solve. This is the first technical step we have to accomplish. And today, Shukru will help us to discuss this topic. Shukru, I'm just stopping my share and you can just share and can go on. Thank you.
You can keep sharing, Erdem, if that's fine for you. If that's not, no problem, I can share.
Sure. Yeah, that is totally fine.
I think all of us here who joined this meeting has already experienced with the stuff that I'm going to talk about. So I'm assuming that this is going to be for future reference, and I'll try to my best to explain the stuff that you are probably already familiar. Actually, I would like to start with saying that nothing is going to be so surprising here. Whatever I say is the stuff that you already heard probably, but I'll go over that. And I'll try to kind of get everyone's opinion about different fields here, different sections. But let's give it a start. Technical phone screen and take-home assignments, I think are two separate things, even though they can, be discussed in the same title. I would like to first focus on the technical phone screen, and then I would like to talk separately about the take-home assignment. But if you would like to say anything about it, about the flow, feel free to say and stop me. All right, I'll start with the know your audience part. I think it's important to know that you are already in the second step. You are in the technical interview part, so odds are in your favor. It might sound like you are getting interviewed and the things, whatever you do, might seem like very stressful, and you might think that you are not doing great, but think that you're in that step, you already made some progress. That's important. When you are starting your interview, you need to be best version of yourself. You need to be very motivated, feel motivated. And when you are talking, you need to be yourself, even though I'm a little bit excited right now when I'm explaining this stuff. Yeah, is there anyone who would like to contribute to know your audience part before I say anything?
I think I'd like to contribute on this area because one of the key items of communication, regular communication, is you need to know your audience and you need to actually speak based on your audiences, right? Well, if you're giving a presentation, you need to know your audience, how technical they are, and what kind of skills they have, so you can actually tailor your talk based on that audience. And if you're sending an email, you need to know your audience and you need to use the phrases based on that audience. Actually, it's also similar. It also applies to interviews as well. Before going into an interview, I think it's very important to know who you are gonna talk to. What's the title of that person you're gonna talk? What's the background of that person you're gonna talk? Potentially, if for example, if he was a speaker in a conference, what's the topic of that talk? For example, you can actually search about that specific person and learn more about that person, because you know that he potentially might ask some questions based on his background, right? You should expect questions based on his background, actually. So you can actually, even if recently if he gave a talk or if he published a paper, for example, you can actually read that paper, watch that talk recording, so you can actually get a feel of his technical background, and also potentially refer what he talked about, right, in that paper or in that presentation during the interview. It's like, I think it's a good tactic to get some positive feedback about that person. And also, just wanted to add one more thing. You also know the company you are interviewing, right? What kind of things they are doing right recently? What are the new improvements in their product potentially? Some innovations they are currently working on. You need to know this kind of things, and you need to be honest, you need to use that information in favor of your in your favor during the interview, right? This is so critical.
Just in addition, a funny story from my end. In the last interview loop, I interviewed with many companies in technical phone screen. I moved forward, some of them with the on-site, but like on technical phone screen to get familiar, to get used to with the interviews. One of these companies were Waymo. It's a Google company, but not very well established processes of interview like Google. So I got the name of interviewer for technical phone screen. I did a research bit and I found his GitHub repository with competitive programming folder. And inside that, he solved, I saw 4 or 5 different questions. And I told myself, one of these questions might be the question that he will ask to me. And it happened, actually.
Wow.
Yeah, I just got one of these questions from his personal GitHub repository, actually.
You cheated there, then.
It's not a cheat. It's just do your work, just do your study, kind of.
Yeah, I agree with you. I think there's not much to say, like looking your contributions. I think it was already very helpful and well-defined, but I would like to add some couple of thoughts. I actually do like know your audience part. I give this one importance a lot. I remember for my current company, before I had that interview, I had the chance to talk to Erdem, and thanks to his insights, he looked at the LinkedIn profiles of these people, and he told me that which one would be more technical, which one would be more like social and like soft skills focused. And also he put a lot of feedback about like what should I expect based on their background. And this was one thing. Plus for the last job that I got, I did a huge research, for tons of research for the people that I will get an interview. It was a bit much maybe, but I did a lot. And I even know that which person went, which Erasmus program, which country they went, which exchange program they attended, what kind of hobbies that they have, what they like, with what they don't like. And it was very, helpful for me, because when it was time to ask questions, I asked questions related to their interests, and I think it gave a feeling for them to more like better conversation, and they had they I think felt excited about the topics that they were already interested. I just knew it, and I just wanted to talk about it already. The second thing is, whenever I learned that I will have a second phone screen interview, I sent an email to the recruiter. I think that's important that we can mention here. I wanted to learn about the audience, and I asked recruiter if she can provide me more information about the interviewers. And luckily they give me information 1 week before the interview. So I think it's important to ask, and plus doing some research. I don't know what else I can say. Let me think. Yeah. And yeah, I know that from Ramazan, one of our friends in Colorado, living in Colorado, he did the same and he got his job. I did the same kind of huge research, and it worked for me. I think it works. You please give it a try at least. if you would like to see if it's gonna work. Let's go to
And I
this.
think, can I add one
Yeah,
more
of
thing?
course,
I
of
think
course.
it might be also a question to audience. So sometimes when you have an interview scheduled with a new candidate, you see that new candidate actually do a LinkedIn search, and it appears in who viewed your profile section, right? I think it's a for me, when I'm gonna interview with someone, when I see his name that on my LinkedIn who's viewed section, it gives me some positive uh, vibes actually, because I know that this person is actually interested in this job, and he's doing his research, and he's doing his homework, and actually checking my profile and what I'm doing actually.
Very
This is
positive. Yeah, very positive.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's very nice. Yeah, that's very nice to hear from your side as well, because I never interviewed people, but that makes sense. The second one was, have you have a couple of coffee or water and get some fresh air. I think we can read this one as like, you should not be suffering from stress or anything makes you uncomfortable, and you need to kind of recharge yourself before the interview, because some of the interviews takes long time, and it's very hard to there's a high chance that you'll need to drink water, and don't drink too much water also, maybe just balance it, you find the sweet spot. I don't do this step a lot. I don't usually motivate myself like with listening music or drinking a coffee or water. I usually like to I usually like to I don't know, like talk to my friends, or don't too much focus on the interview, because I think if I take the interview seriously. Oh, I forgot to say that. I was gonna add know your audience. After know your audience, I was going to add know yourself. I was gonna talk about it. If you know yourself, what makes you more comfortable before the interview, what makes you happy, what makes you more motivated, you should probably have a good understanding about yourself. If you know that, do whatever motivates you. Like if praying makes you happy or more comfortable before the interview, do that. If walking, do that. Whatever. I think we can count these three things to relax yourself and don't take it too serious. And I'm gonna talk about not taking it too serious a little bit more. But if you like to add something, I think these are the things that some people do in this Zoom call. If you would like to add something about these two things, have a pre-session song, or having a water or coffee prepared. Is there anyone who would like to add something to that?
I think generally it's as as a general advice, a positive mindset during the interview. You try to force yourself smiling. So it's a very common tactic for customer support teams. They are suggesting them to smile while they are answering customer support calls, for example, because when you're smiling, you actually somehow give a positive vibe to even that vibe even can be felt on the other line of the phone. So that's human nature, human psychology. So you need to be smiling and get prepared and in a positive mood before the interview. That's so important.
I think it was great. Thank you for saying that. It reminded me one more thing. I think your body posture also affects your mood. Usually V shape, when you make your body bigger, it usually gives you more motivation, more comfortability. There was a TED talk about it. Her name was Amy Cuddy, was talking about how posture affects our psychology. I don't know if it works for everyone, but for me, it kind of works. I feel more comfortable if I relax, lean back, put my hands to my shoulder next to my shoulders, and stretch. I think these things are also helpful. If there's no if there's not any other comment, I would like to talk about give a positive outlook, be energetic, probably, plus not taking it too serious. I will add it as a next step. There are a lot of people, when I discussed, tell me that they got this job offer from a totally different company, random company. They never expected that that's gonna happen. And it usually happens to me. And for example, for the company that I applied for, now I'm working for, I didn't think that I'm going to be hired. I just applied it thinking that it's going to be a practice for me. But whenever I take some company very serious, I usually get more excited in the interview. And I usually cannot show best version of myself. That's why it's important to see these kind of things like an practice, or, you know, like something that's not going to hurt you eventually if you do good or bad. Just do your best and don't worry too much about it. I think starting something like that could be helpful, but I don't know what's your thoughts about it. I think that would work for many people, but I don't know if we can generalize it for everyone. Do you have any comment about it?
I agree. Yeah, for most of the things, I agree. I put this pre-session song thing. Yeah, as you said, like they all are connected to know yourself actually. So I have to be more focused before those kind of important tasks. But for some people like yourself, Shukru, maybe being too much focused is making stress on you. That's why you want to have some casual chats with your friends, right?
Yeah, that's true. Like, for example, if I take a meeting very serious, I cannot talk. But if I don't care too much, you know, I can say anything because I can make jokes about people, and this usually gives a positive feedback to people because even though they are looking, some companies have some stereotypes for like their expectations. I saw like we are going to probably discuss more what companies expect, but in general, people are looking for friendly people, you know, that they can work with, and they are looking for people that they can talk with. And it's, I think at that point, being natural makes them more comfortable. They can make jokes as well. And sometimes you can say, yeah, how was your day before you, like when you start the interview, how is your life? Is this everything good? Like what do you do to enjoy your time or life? And these kind of small talks even makes me comfortable. I wouldn't like to get distracted from the topic, but basically being natural and being positive, and sometimes not caring too much helps me during the interview. But it really depends how you prepare for the interviews, and that was even the same for me since the high school or like primary school. So it's a bit, you know, the same. Don't try to something very different, I think, for these interviews as well.
Yeah, we spent too much time maybe on these topics, but I think they are really important and also applicable for the other topics like other technical sessions, on-site interviews, even for negotiation, right? So
Yeah.
these are really important actually. Even after joining to the team, the company, for the very important meetings that you will lead, you have to know yourself. How do you cope with the stress for those kind of very important 60 minutes or 45 minutes?
Yeah.
Yeah, I have like my pre-session song, by the way. It is a secret. I will not say it, but it is yeah, it is a bookmark in my browser. So even with the most important 10 seconds part of that song is just like bookmarked in my browser. So when I click, it starts just from that part, not from the beginning. I listen like 10, 15 seconds. One another thing about coffee for me, I am just like having one box of coffee, real coffee, like dry coffee. So during the interview, if I am locked, if I need some more concentration, I don't know if this is scientifically true, but like I just like open the box, I smell it a few seconds, it just like tidy me up, and I'm more focused that way. This is one of the trick also I'm mostly doing.
I think that's very important. I agree with you. Your mood, your motivation, your feelings affects your answers. And if you get really excited or anxious, about what's going on or with the questions. For example, the next question, I mean, the next title here, understanding the question might be a problem. And you cannot even focus what's happening right now. With that, I would like to talk about understand the question part. I think here the key thing that I want to say, ask question. You know, never feel embarrassed to ask questions, because I had very experience with that during my not just phone screen interview, during my first early career time. I'm still in my early career, but in the first couple of months, I was shy to ask questions. I thought that I need to know a lot of things, a lot of those things that they were talking about. When new people joined, I noticed that they are asking the same questions that I felt very excited or shy to ask, and people very helpful to them, and they were learning so fast. And there were no reason for me to stress myself. Eventually, what I learned. But for the interviews, it's pretty much the same. You know, you are having a conversation with people, and there might be an internet connection problem. The sound might not be okay. You may not understand the question in the first at the first attempt. You may ask for the second time. If let's say you don't understand the question, or maybe you understand the question, you can still ask them to clarify you understood it correctly, because when you talk about something totally different, when the interviewer asks you a question, usually they don't want to discourage you by saying that, but I think it's a big no, because there are a lot of situations in the company that you will need to put some feedback, and that probably gives an idea to interviewer, like you are not you might be talking unnecessarily a lot, and which is not helpful for the company. But I think there would be better thoughts here that you can contribute as well. Happy to hear them. Erdem, Oğuz, Demet, Murat.
Yeah, actually, I just wanted to add a couple of things here. First of all, this is, I think, very, very important trick for coding interviews as well. So you need to actually understand the question and repeat your understanding in loud. So actually get a confirmation from your interviewer, so you can actually start working on it, because this is very important. And also, I think listening your interviewer's feedback is so crucial. Sometimes maybe you misunderstood the question, and you start answering something else, talking about something else, and the interviewer actually interrupted you somehow, maybe waited until your answer is completed, and then he asked a follow-up question trying to direct you into a path. Don't resist that, and try to understand what he's trying to say, because most of the time interviewers are not trying to eliminate you, because they spend that hour with you and they don't want to waste that hour, and they want you to be potentially successful in this interview, so they can actually hire you and they can move forward. So when they try to direct you into a direction, you need to follow that very carefully and understand what they meant, because again, and if you ignore that and try to repeat yourself again and again in a wrong direction, it's a very negative sign. Very
great. Thank you for saying that. I actually saw something on my notes that I wanted to also mention about here. It's also good to observe the interviewer, I think, because I know that not all interviewers are the same. Not all the people are the same. Interviewers might have different expectations, and they might have different gestures. But for me in general, if I'm saying something totally wrong, I can observe that from the interviewers, like the way that they look, like the way, like from gestures, mimics, it's kind of a hint to you. So at this point, it's important to stop there, if you can stop, and ask them, like, is that I'm getting into the details here, is this a right way for me to go? Do you want me to proceed like this, or is there any feedback that you would like to give, or do you want me to focus on something else? Is there any question on my mind that you want to ask me before I go into the details? These kind of questions gives you idea about what the interviewer's thinking at that moment. And it's good to understand these feedbacks and modify yourself. You don't need to say like things on your mind. If something is not going very well, don't, as also said, don't, start a discussion with the interviewer, or don't, force the way that you want to do. That's something that I would like to add here.
One thing I could add, on-site interviews are very technical oriented interviews, but what we are trying to do as interviewers in phone screen is not eliminating people if they are not really bad. So if that candidate is able to do something and not the complete solution, but like problem solving skills, at least above some very low thresholds, we are actually checking for the soft skills, not soft skills maybe, but like the candidate can ask questions, can clarify things, can work with a team. These kind of things, actually, I mean, mostly in phone screens, we are focusing on those kind of things. And most of the candidates cannot pass telephonic phone screens. Is because they don't understand the question, they don't clarify the question, and they don't find the edge cases of the problem that we are solving. Actually, it is. I just want to clarify the distinction between phone screen and the on-site. Other than that, like if we are technically evaluating candidates, there are many multiple ways to do that without spending any time. Technical like assessments are one of the take-home assignments are one of these ways, or using third-party companies to do this phone screens. Some companies are doing that, right? Just like delegating these phone screens to the third parties. I would do that if I am evaluating only technical skills. But why I'm spending so much time for every candidate? Because I also want to evaluate culturally that person fits into my team or not. So I think this part is also important on that sense.
Great. Yeah, these are great feedbacks. Do you want to jump on the manage your time?
Yeah, I just added that. Sorry.
Yeah. No, it's fine. It's, I think, nice. So since you added that, would you like to explain that as well?
Yeah, sure. Yeah. So when I look at the holistically on this topic, I saw that we missed the point. Actually, we are in an interview, so we have to solve the question, right? The technical question. So one thing that I improved in myself was I was clarifying with questions. I was energetic, etc. But like I was starting solving question after 15 minutes. I was asking too many questions. It is good, but at the end of the day, you have to solve that question. So what I prefer is, and my plan and what I am doing right now is trying to keep this high and intros as short as possible. Don't try to sell yourself to phone screen interviewer, because he is not the guy who will evaluate you are a fit to a company, to that company or not, in terms of your resume. It's already evaluated. You already were invited to that interview. So just like this is a very unimportant part. It is just like to make you comfortable, to make you ready to interview. It's not for evaluation. Even in Google's interviewer guidelines, I remember they are saying their own interviewers, employees, that like this 5 minutes is just like making candidates comfortable. Do not evaluate. Do not take any note about that part. after that 5 minutes, when you hear the question, just spend 5 minutes at most to clarify. Even 1-2 minutes should be enough. And then just start coding something. Just start coding something like some boilerplate code, write the function signature, etc. While doing that, continue your questions, continue your clarifying questions at that time. You don't have to ask all questions, get all answers, note down, and then start coding. It is too much. You have to solve that question. So jump to solving question as soon as possible. During the solution, you can always ask questions to clarify. And in the first 10 minutes, this is my way. I don't know like how people does, but like if you felt, for example, as a question should be solved with a priority queue, let's say, or let's say it should be solved with a breadth first search, then you need a queue. You need to implement the initial boilerplate of BFS. That part, just start writing that part. Even you don't have the complete solution in your mind, just start implementing something. This is a very, very good feedback for interviewer about yourself. And then when you come to the end of these 10 minutes, you will have some, functions very well organized with boilerplate code is implemented, but some meaty, some important parts not implemented yet. So after that point, while doing those, by the way, your brain will try to solve the real problem also. You just like realize it is a BFS solution, but you couldn't figure out how you have to organize your BFS, right? At that point, like while you're spending this 10 minutes to boilerplate code, your brain will start try to solve it in the background process already. So when you want to spend 10 minutes to these hard parts, the real solution of the problem, for example, just putting the real BFS algorithm inside the while loop of this queue consumption. So at that point, your brain will solve it, hopefully. And you will just implement very hard logic during this focused 10 minutes time. It can also extend to maybe 15 minutes or so. And the time that left for you, like 5 to 10 minutes, try to test first, validate your solution with a single test data. We don't mean you have to write a unit test. You will just validate your solution with some test data, with just like debugging, writing some commands maybe. You just debug your code and improve for edge cases. What if I got a negative number to my function? Or what if I got null to my function? Kind of checks you have to cover during this 10 minutes.
Thank you, Erdem. I would like to add a couple of things here. It's good to know that these times are relative because some interviews, phone screen interviews might be 30 minutes. So relative to 30 minutes, you can manage that. Let's say it is let's say 90 minutes. You can manage based on that. And also there are some people in the audience, like from different backgrounds, not maybe programming. And then that's just to remind you that whatever interview that you are getting, like manage your time before you start so that you'll know about what you are gonna do. Like when people are training, they call it visualizing. And I remember when I was taking TOEFL exams, there were a lot of discussions about how we should manage our time. And it's the same for a lot of exams. This is also similar to that. Just manage your time, and if you know that what you are gonna get, plan accordingly before you start, and that will probably help you a lot. That will also make things under control. Anything to add here? If not, let's go to know what company looks for. So there are a lot of companies, and I just work for only one company. So
So sorry, Shukri, for the interrupt. So I wanted to add a couple of items as well. Looks like it is the best place before this section. So
yeah, go ahead. Thank you.
a couple of minutes. So can you scroll up a little?
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, we mentioned about the question, right? Understanding the question. So the other important part is how to answer the questions, I believe. Here, so we are not experienced in the US. So this is we all know that we will have getting more experience day by day. But what I will say in general is your language is the unique way to express yourself. So sometimes we are taking some notes, log sentences, right? And we are just reading them during the interview. Like, for example, tell me about yourself question, right? We are expecting this question and we are taking some notes and reading that from our paper, right? I will say I am having many interviews nowadays with the candidates. This is very apparent. So, and I understand that this is not coming from the candidate itself. It is coming from someone else. I think one of the main things for the interviews, we need to be natural. We should not read from any notes. Maybe we can take some notes for the highlights, for the keywords, and we can use them. But we should not read anything completely from a paper. This is the first thing. The other one is we need to be very use the language very carefully. We need to stop between sentences, and we should not speak very fast, I will say. We need to highlight or emphasize the important parts in our sentence. So we should not, we don't have to use many sentences, many words. We can just use a couple of attractive words for the interviewer. And we can expect additional questions later. If you don't, I know I'm mentioning many things, but it is not easy to cover everything here. But the other thing will be, if we don't know anything about the question, we should honestly mention about this. You will have some other experiences, and that will be very valuable. But if you are trying to sell something you don't have, that does not give a good experience or good, I will say, feedback to the interviewer. Maybe I can add a couple of bullets here, and I can expand this section. But the main thing what I am trying to say is the language we are using is the unique way we are expressing ourselves.
Yeah, thank you, Tahsin. I think they were all very important, and I agree with you. I never use I never look at the sentences because I cannot talk when I try to understand the sentence. I usually cannot read even my handwriting, so it doesn't work. And even for the long sentences, it makes you confused. And if you read it from there, and they usually understand it, and it's not natural. And your answers might change depending on the interviewer. So it doesn't need to be one response for everybody. And I agree with the other points as well. I was planning to talk. Yeah, are you gonna add something? Sorry.
So maybe we can record our trials. So our interviews, so we can listen ourselves later. Listen to ourselves. That will be one thing. I believe how we talk, how we express ourselves, especially for the high-tech companies like Google or Facebook or some others, it defines our. So we are giving a profile to the interviewer. So they decide how to locate this profile, right? So the position, the offer we are getting from them is not the technical language. The language we are using while talking to them, expressing ourselves, to be being honest, actually, this part is also important. And maybe we will, even if, so for some candidates, I know they are failing in the technical questions. But I prefer to give one more chance to him, and I'm asking my colleagues to have another session with him. Maybe he can, for that time, that may not be the good time for him to express himself or technically solve the question. But giving another chance will be a good opportunity for the interviewee. We can leverage his capabilities, like expressing himself, being a good team member, like some social capabilities.
This is very important feedback, Tahsin, from the point of view of an interviewer. So candidates should understand that many chances are given, actually. Even you fail during an interview, just keep up yourself, just like be positive. And even I heard some stories, without solving questions, people are even passing the on-site interviews because their attitude is very important for companies. I mean, without solving any of the questions, any of these sessions, you cannot get into any of these companies. That's for sure. But small failures are just like compensated by your social skills, your positiveness, actually.
Yeah, I was planning to talk about it during always keep up and be positive. I agree with you, and I have an experience with that. My first day interview didn't go well, and they weren't sure. And my second day was great, and I learned that they discussed about it and they were positive about it eventually. So it worked for me, and I did not finish the first question the first day. So even though I couldn't do it, I was hired, and I'm happy they made the good decision. Can
I add one more thing into that conversation? It might be important to how to answer questions part, because sometimes we are seeing some candidates are, when you ask a question and if he's not very unsure about the question, we got some silence here and some mouse clicks and some keyboard clicks as well. Obviously he is or she is doing some Google research, Google search to answer that question in that panic mode. And we are doing video conferences mostly, so we can see that reflection on the glasses, or we can see the light changes, screen changes. So these are kind of negative things in that manner. It's like almost like considered as a cheating. So that's why I think that should be avoided, to do some Google search and mouse clicks and changing screens and checking the other monitors you have. And that silence is not very positive for sure.
Perfect. One of my colleagues told me that when he was getting an interview about system design, he told me that I was just out of the college and I didn't know what is a system design interview. And I asked interviewer, what should I respond here? What should I say here? I don't know. I have no idea about how system design, interviewers work. And the interviewer walked through and they created some ideas and they did it together. Now he's my colleague, and he told me that he got hired after this discussion, but he was very honest man. But he had a lot of knowledge, but he didn't know how to respond to that question exactly. So it worked well for him. We have limited time, I guess, like 11 minutes. So if we can talk about know what company works for and always keep up, be positive. We can discuss about the take-home assignment as well, because we skipped that. For me, there is not much that I can add about know what company looks for, other than startup companies usually have the build fast and they have a lot of design issues, architecture issues they need to fix later, and there are a lot of there are not many tests, and they suffer. Most of startup companies suffer the same thing. And when you say something that they like and they suffer, they usually like to talk about it. And I felt that, you know, talking about tests, lack of tests for the startup company got helped me to get hired, because I talked about Uncle Bob and why we should write tests, and the VP was one of the interviewer, I think VP or another person. He was very happy to hear that from me as kind of a knowledge. So that's something that I can add, but I don't have much experience to add to that. Do you would like to add anything?
Yeah, I put that part about Google, LinkedIn, etc. So while solving the same question, actually, if you are solving it for Google, it is different. If you are solving it for Meta, Facebook, it is different actually. So Facebook wants you to solve it as soon as possible, without not using the best way, best performance, or lower big O notation for space or runtime. But Google is just like looking for single solution for that problem, but the right solution. What I saw in LinkedIn, solution is important, yes, but like the solutions are very, very long. You have to write a lot of code, and you may end up writing very spaghetti code while solving LinkedIn's questions. Questions are not really very hard, but you may end up writing spaghetti. So we are looking for craftsmanship, quality, how you organize your code. It totally depends on company. So you have to at least know the general mindset of the company before getting into their interview.
Yeah, these are good feedback. Actually, for junior developer, as long as you can solve, that's good. Yeah, usually if you can solve the questions, it's good. You know, I think, you know, at some senior level, probably these things might be more important. But for me, I suffered a lot more on solving the questions than what kind of approach I should have, to be honest.
Just a feedback. For example, in one of the sessions in Google, I was not able to solve the question, but my approach was really good quality. Like verbally, I explained how to solve that in a very performance way, but I couldn't complete the code. I asked my friends in Facebook, and they told me if you did the same thing in Facebook interview, you were rejected. So it might be the same even for junior candidates, Shukru. Google is not looking for always for complete solutions, but good quality solutions. But for Facebook is really wants a solution actually, running like working code.
That's good. Hopefully one day I experience that as well. Always keep up and be positive. Let's talk about it. We have very limited time, so I think we already discussed a lot of things about being positive. And only thing I want to add, after your interview is done, don't stress too much about what's gonna happen. Instead, like, enjoy the moment, see it as a practice, and do your best. Don't worry too much, and it's not the end of the world. And you know, don't act like you're ugly duckling. No company will take you. You know, just know that there is gonna be one company that you will be hired. As long as you keep the same motivation, one or other, you will do it. So that's something that I want to say here.
And also,
Yeah.
some interviews start low actually, and then you pace up. So that's why, for example, if you think you started badly, couldn't answer a couple of questions maybe in the beginning of the interview, and you should be. It's hard. I know it's hard to keep up that positive vibe, but you should try to keep that positive vibe up. So it may speed up and everything may go positive from that direction. And I'm hearing a lot of feedbacks from my colleagues that when they do interviews, they're saying like, oh, this candidate started poorly, but he ramped up very well. So I think he's a great candidate kind of. So keeping that positive mindset, even if the interview is going down, can be really helpful for you to pass that interview.
Great. Is there anyone who would like to add something? If not, I would like to talk about take-home assignments very quickly. My ideas is not much, so I think it will add something, at least hopefully. What I want to say about take-home assignment is, let's say you got the assignment, you get the question, or you get the challenge, you get the task, and you don't understand it. You have no idea what's gonna happen, and you don't know what you need to do. I think the first thing that you need to do is just ask questions. They usually, like for me, for my interviews, they told you that you can ask a question if there is something stuck, if you got stuck, or if you don't understand the questions. I think it's important to act early and don't wait the last minute, because the interviewer will think that you couldn't do that after spending 24 hours, 48 hours. And it's human mind, human psychology, and there's no reason to wait till the last minute. If there is something that needs to be clarified it as soon as possible. That's the first thing that I would like to say. The second thing is, let's say you made some progress and you got stuck at some point, and I think it's good to share your progress and then ask questions. This will show the interviewer that you're not just asking questions, but instead trying to do something. I think I heard a lot of feedbacks from Oğuz and Melik when Şevki was getting interviewed. Doing his take-home assignments. These were the two things got stuck on my mind, but I'm pretty sure there are other things that you would like to add here as well. If not, I'm gonna say a couple more things. All right, then.
Yeah, you actually well said everything.
Okay. I'm gonna assume so. So there, like everyone's saying, and I told in the beginning, there's no dumb questions. Feel free to ask. If you don't know the answer, if you don't ask it, you're not gonna do it. So you're not gonna lose anything when you ask the question. And for example, when you don't know how to approach, be transparent, as Tahsin said, and ask the question. And most importantly, finish it as quick as possible. And if you want to do the optimal solution, first share the first solution, and then tell them, hey, I want to optimize that. I can do it better with this approach. I'm gonna try that. Because in this kind of take-home assignments, it depends the type, but time is also important. So you gotta hurry up, and there could be some technical problems. That's why it's important to not wait the last minute. And some of the companies gives you hint, and sometimes they explain you on a Zoom call. And on the Zoom call, you can ask them, based on your explanation, what I understand is I need to do blah, blah, blah. Is this right? Like, ask that kind of clarifying questions, not to spend a lot of time on the wrong direction. What else? If the company or the interviewer gives you a hint, put too much, take this seriously, because interviewers, as Oğuz said before, try to help you. So these kind of hints are very important. These are the things that I would like to add, and it's 10:59 in my local time. So I will assume, like, I will think like I finished it on time. Is there anything that you would like to add here?
That's perfect. Thank you.
All right, great. Thank you all for joining.
Yeah, the
Thank
next
you.
session, thanks everyone for contributions. Next section will be on on-site interview. And this is, as you all agree, this is the most important part. So don't miss that session. I will announce through IT Society Discord.
Thank you. Have a good night, everyone.
Thank you.